All right, kind of moving on to some more interior plastic pieces. I sourced this little guy and kind of just, I believe the metal piece here, those guys over there, the side panels, that side panel, this panel, that panel, they all kind of just have to fit together. So I took the given, I cut this out, 3/4 inch flange on that side. The bottom, I only cut a 1/2 inch flange. I think it's going to all get cut off anyway because of that pulley return system that's in there. And the top, for now, I have a 1 inch flange, which somehow I might incorporate into my own center console. And first thing I noticed is they do have 2 dimples in here that are about 2 3/8 spaced apart. Then I measured the cable, and yes, it's in the right pulleys, fairly confident, and they're only 1 1/8 inch apart. So kind of compromised it and made this 2 1/4, and this is 2 1/8 apart, and these are 2 3/8 apart. So anyway, I compromised it 2 1/4, and I think I'm gonna cut this whole thing out because it needs to fit over this anyway. And then I started working on these guys. Not these guys, but the metal pan that comes up to it, and obviously you need to trim that out. So instead of cutting it right out of the metal, I decided to make a template, kind of left and right it, to get it as close as possible, because this angle's I wouldn't say tricky, but it's I don't know, I wouldn't know how else to measure it, to be honest with you, and I don't want to cut too much of the metal. So plastic template it is. That worked pretty good. I have it flush on this side and then pretty tight on this side. I'm actually probably going to take another 1/16 off of this to minimize this gap, even though it looks like it's touching there, but just to make room for material and all that. I tend to build stuff so tight and I can't wrap it. This all worked out pretty good. I know it's very primitive stages, but I think I get the hang of how it all goes together. And I don't know if you can tell, but I did end up cutting that whole thing out in that 2 1/4. I drilled 2 1/2 inch holes. I left a little bit of a lip, I haven't cleaned it up yet, to maybe put a little tab on to allow me to bolt this into it to keep this from flexing and showing the wires, or just to give it a little rigidity. But preliminary fit's pretty cool, so excited about that. Yeah, like I said, for sure, the hip bone's connected to the backbone's connected to the other hip bone, which is connected to the spine bone and the neck bone and the butt bone, and yeah, all of these things kind of just float in unison. I started thinking about the center console. I cut this, which this fits really tight around the extruded aluminum parts, but I think I kind of had this vision of a cup holder here, so I just ordered 2 of those cup holders I use for poker, which is also wide enough to put a phone. So I'm thinking cup holder, and then a little thing that lifts up where the bottom goes down to above the pulleys, the Teleflex cables for the flaps, and the things can plug in there. And then we have the Bose aviation headsets, and these little control things can sit inside of a little compartment. So that's kind of what I'm thinking now. So trying to figure out how to devise all this. I think I'm going to make kind of a hook that hooks underneath here, so there's actually no mounting screws up there. It kind of just hooks in. The bottom of this will be open, so you can pull it off. So it would hook in. You pull the second cup holder out, and then there's 2 screws underneath there that mounted here. And then I think they have you put in a little angle bracket here. I'm picturing an angle bracket here and an angle bracket there to keep it, sturdy this way. And then maybe, 2 screws on either side. So I sketched something out. Yeah, this is kind of a side profile, but we'll see if I can make something real out of it. So this is what I got going on so far. Those hooks underneath, that was a bad idea, because I kind of thought with the geometry I'd be able to lift the back out and unhook it, but truth be told is it I just barely started and it's in there rock solid, so you don't even need it. I'm gonna use the same original mounts right here, and then there's a whole bunch of cheating going on. Up here, I kind of went 4 inches wide just so it fills in the space to here, but when it starts coming on the seat and down here, it's gonna be 3 inches wide. But I'm trying to cheat to put one or two cup holders in here that are big enough to fit the iPhone that I have. So they're like 3.5 inches wide. So that's why this is 4 inches. And then back here, it's going to be 3.5. The factory console is 3 inches. And I'm basically trying to cheat a 1/4 inch. With the seats, it all fits. So this is kind of a preliminary shape. I forgot to mention, the reason I got the skunk look is because the white plastic is the original RANS piece. I just kept it because it had the perfect contour on there. I did put a little spacer on the inside that kind of locks it in left and right to the flap handle, I don't know, whatever the aluminum there. And then, yeah, I can show you like the whole thing. But, that was one hand, but yeah, that's how it comes out. And I'm guessing probably these 2 screws and maybe something back there is all it's gonna need. All right, I'm back on the center console and already kind of staring at this thing. Originally, I said I was gonna make this 4 inches wide, and I had this honking cup holder, like from a poker table that I bought that was kind of cool, so I can fit my ginormous phone in there. But it didn't look right. It was just looked stupid. So anyway, I bought these cup holders. They're a little bit smaller and come in a 2-pack, and they're the perfect size. So what I did on the spacer, I took a 1/4 inch off. So we're going to be at 3.5 across the top, 3 inches across the bottom. I'll put a little filler piece in here, you know, to lock it in and take up that gap, so you don't, you know, in case you have a toll ticket or something, you don't drop that down there. And I also started looking at kind of like the design of the back. I'm not sure if I'm going to like angle the 2 cup holders. I know the second one I need to gain access to the screws so you can pull it out, but working on that. Keep you posted. First order of business was I had a little step in there to keep it from going left and right and help it keep it centered, like a little piece of plastic glued in there, but it was actually a 1/4 inch thick. So when you put the flap handle up, the bolt underneath it lifted it. So you can film this. So what I did now is I actually made one that goes the entire way. So this is 2 of them glued together because I'm going to use one for each side. And it's going to go in like 3/16 inch back, and it's going to follow this all the way down to the bottom. And this is 3/16, so it rides along the outside there because that's what this space is here. So there's no interference. So that was a pain in the ass because I literally cut this with a jigsaw and then just sanded it to the proper thickness. Now I'm going to glue it. All right, got those glued in. Does it all make sense now? That will go on there and kind of keeps it from going left and right or interfering with the flap handle. Here is the kind of assembled piece, so I got that all glued together. I ended up filling in this bottom piece because in theory you can just, I had the little rubber handle on there, but you can just take that off and then slide this thing over it. So it helps space it, you know, left to right up here, and I don't know, it just looks better. Now I realized with the way the console is going to go on, and the cup holder is going to be right about here, but these screws are kind of aiming backwards, so you kind of need to get at them from this angle, and I'm going to basically just bend these tabs forward like 20 degrees. All right, maybe I didn't bend them 20 degrees, but a couple of degrees. Now ended up taking all this apart again. I'm going to make a new floor that goes in there. You can see that floor is going to have to bend this way and then back up, and I'm also probably going to have it bend into there. Also have to fudge it a little bit. So this is on the inside 3 1/4. So by the time you add this, which isn't quite an 1/8 inch, plus the material, it's going to be 3.5 inches, which is the top width. But at the bottom, I'm making this 3 inches so it fits better next to the seat. But right about here I have to cheat it from 3 1/4 to 3 and taking 1/8 of an inch off either side, so 3 inches. Well, I have to say I'm proud of myself. My eyeball engineering was pretty close. So these are now straight up. So again, when you have the cup holder that you remove, you can get at them with the screwdriver easier. Then basically it's just gonna rest on top of this. So when you push down on it, you know, it's nice and solid. And then here, I just wanted enough room for the Teleflex cable. This is just here as a spacer. What I'm gonna do now is basically put it all in and glue it together. This is always one of those moments where you double check, triple check everything, because once you glue it, you're committed. And so I have good clearance here. I basically move this. So I have, this was really tight from RANS, like it snaps on with barely enough room for paint. I'm gonna put Alcantara over this. This will be all rounded over. So I need a little bit of a gap, like 30 seconds. And so I wanna make sure that's in proper position. Then I measured this is exactly the same as on this side. Then I have it back here. So this hovers just above the Teleflex cable. Now I'm gonna go through and glue it. Alright, what you saw me do there is basically just tack with the CA glue. And what I like to do is I like to take the thin stuff, which is also the strongest, put it on there, and use a little micro applicator. You've seen me do that before. From there, and the capillary action just sucks it in there. So it's kind of like tack welding it. And obviously I'm happy with the fit because it came in and it came out. And now I'm gonna go through and glue this. You really don't just need to get the glue on the edges. It sucks it in and it's super strong. All right, 4 hours later of gluing, cutting, grinding. I put the back piece in, put the bottom piece in. This is where I'm at now. This cutout there is just so the cup sits as low and as far forward as possible, because obviously trying to minimize space and make it look less bulky. Those are lightning holes. And this is the divider between those two. This is just a spacer. This one's not glued yet. Basically just doing a quick update because I'm ready to go to bed. It's been a long day. I think I've been on this thing for like 12 hours. And my plan inside here is I have this latch that I want to use as a release, but I need to get my fingers under there and still be able to finish it. But that space in front will act as the part where the regular phono plugs go, and then on the bottom will be the lemo plug. The lemo plug's actually deeper than the hand soldered phono plugs. So basically you open it, you plug that in there, and you can throw basically the Bose tumors in there and just have a neat kind of cable coming out. So there'll be a cutout on the side here on the cover somehow. So still got to figure all that out, but really like the way it's coming out. The whole thing fits in. Oh, I did something cool here. I'll show you. Honest, it does come out. Oh, dude. Here we go. Yeah, so the flap handle needs to be up, but I just heat it and push these out with like a round bolt that I had. And what those are is, I don't know if you can tell, but these bolts stick out I could just reverse them, but it kind of helps lock it in. So just part of the fit of how the whole thing goes together. All right, good night.